All right, so we are live. Hi, everyone. Good evening, and welcome again to another amazing live session on the Winning Strategies series for 2025, or the Winning Strategies for 2025 series. All right, so today we are having to discuss emotional intelligence. You'll recall at the beginning of this series, I talked about the fact that we're going to be having discussions and conversations around things that can help you win in this year. And that at the end of the year, you want to be able to look back and say, oh, I did really well in this area of my life, in this area of my life. But I mean, the goal for us is not just to do well in one area of your life. The goal is to do well holistically, to be able to say you had a really, really fulfilled year. So if you're joining us for the first time, we had a session on personal growth and development. We've also had a session on winning in business. And today we're having a session on a very, very important topic, which is emotional intelligence. And I couldn't have thought about a better person to take the session. I mean, people who have been tested and trusted are the ones I'm bringing to this program.
Oh,
And we have today a professional psychologist, an emotional intelligence coach. Let me add that to his title if he doesn't have that already. And I'm saying that because yes, he's a coach. I mean, I'm not forming title for him. He's actually a coach, and I know he has strong knowledge of emotional intelligence and the mastery of emotional intelligence. And I believe that is better suited to have this conversation with us today. And I want you to be in this session with an open mind to gain one or two things that you can apply in your everyday life. So I want to say a very big welcome to Mr. Kayode Chukwuemeka Ezeogu. Thank you so much for joining this session today. Thank you. I know you could be
thank
doing
you
many
for
other
having
things. I
me.
know you just finished the session, but you're here today. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you for having me. It's an honor
Thank
to
you.
be here. It's an honor to be
Thank
here.
you. All right. So we are having the conversation about emotional intelligence, and I want people to understand the very basic meaning of emotional intelligence. So I want to assume that people who are listening to this program or watching this program are people who don't even understand what emotional intelligence means at all. So if you want to explain emotional intelligence to a layman, how would you explain what emotional intelligence means?
So to a layman, to an average normal person, two words encompasses emotional intelligence. The first word is wisdom. The second word is maturity.
Mm,
Wisdom and maturity. Those are the two words. If I were to just say it without having to go into too many depths or too many, it's just wisdom and maturity. And I would say why
okay.
now. So this is why. Oftentimes people think emotional intelligence is just about so yeah, about emotions.
Mm,
There's already emotional in the whole thing. So you would assume that look,
mm,
we're going to just be talking through emotions, but we are all in quotes emotional beings. Emotions are a
yeah.
primary form of our human expression. What that means is that we cannot not emote. So it is impossible for you not to feel. And because
Yeah.
it is impossible for you not to feel, it's possible for you not to express. Now, how you express may differ. So it is in that how that you see emotional intelligence. This is in that how that you see someone who you say is wise or somebody who you say is mature. The average person would, something would happen to them, and then they would react because of what has happened. So they would react, okay, why did you do that? This I did that because he said that. I mean, I hit him because he did that. I did that because. So every time they want to interpret and explain their action, they're looking at a prior action that primed them or
Mm,
motivated them to act. That's the average person. The emotionally intelligent person will say, I did that because I wanted to feel or have XYZ. That person is saying, I didn't, I wasn't, my action did not really come out of what the other person had done. My action came out of the outcome I chose. So for
mm,
the emotional intelligent person, he would have taken a journey all the way to the outcome he or she wants, and then
mm,
arrive at that outcome, and then do back from the future thinking. So it is because they've gotten to that outcome, they will choose a set of thoughts that they needed to think. And because they have thought in a particular way, they will feel a particular way. And then there's a decision to act, and then there is action. What most people will see is just the action, but they will not have seen that the person had gone through a journey on their inside and arrived at outcome. So we say that the emotionally intelligent person first tries to make acquaintance with consequences before they
Mm.
act. So
Mm.
classical, let me give you this one is the classical. There is this dude
Okay.
that beats his wife. He's a wife
Okay.
beater. And every time they ask him, why do you beat your wife? He says it's anger. I can't control myself. When that anger comes on me, I just beat her. It's not something I can control. She'll just say something and I'll just flare.
Mm.
And then this
Yeah.
dude enters a public bus, right? And then he
Yes.
steps on a female military guy, a military woman,
Woman. Yeah.
woman soldier. Let me say that in our language. He steps, he steps
Okay.
on a soldier woman,
Mm.
and then the soldier woman slaps him. That's
Mm.
something that his wife in the house will never do, right?
Exactly.
And then this man is calm. He's very calm. He's actually even asking him, Madam, what did I do? Like, what? So you now ask yourself, how come that anger that enters him like a wind when his wife says something refuse to
Mm.
enter him now? It is then you will know it's not anger. This time he made acquaintance with consequence. He looked at the uniform and told himself, if you try it, oh,
Yeah. Yeah.
if you try it, the place you will sleep
Mm.
this night, they will not come and bring you out. But for the wife, he knows that look, there's no consequence.
Mm.
Are you following me? There is no. He had
Yes.
run
Yes.
the scenario to the end. I said, I will beat her, nothing will happen. That's why he beats her. Not
Mm.
because he's angry. So the emotion was not what led to his misbehavior. It was the thoughts that look, nothing can happen. So the
Mm.
emotionally intelligent person, when we say the person is mature, when the person say the person is wise, the person will have gone all the way to the consequence and say, okay, all right, let's ignore what this person is saying or doing now. What do I want? What do I
Mm.
want to take out of this conversation? What do I want to take out of this interaction? What outcome am I looking out really for? Okay, there's people here. This person had insulted me. Do I want to come low or do I want to go high? Do I want to leave this place with
Mm.
all my dignity intact? If I'm going to live here with all my dignity intact, how do I approach the situation? So the person that's
Mm.
chosen an outcome, and that outcome
Yeah.
is what is guiding thoughts, feelings, and behavior.
Mm.
So that in the nutshell,
Mm.
you will know that emotional intelligence really isn't about emotions per se. It's about making
Mm.
decisions.
Mm.
It is in that
I think at this
decision you
point,
see a wise man.
okay.
I said it's in that decision you see a wise man, or a
Yeah.
matured man.
Mm. Thank you so much, Mr. Chooks. I think at this point, if we wrap up this session, we have achieved a lot.
Oh, yes,
Because
please, gladly, 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 gladly.
I mean, because already there is already a very strong takeaway, even from our first question. For me, it's the fact that emotional intelligence is um you thinking before acting, as against acting before thinking. Please correct me if I'm wrong.
Uh, when you put it like that, um,
Mm,
it's quite simplistic. There's some truth in it, but then it
okay.
makes it look like the people who act don't think. We all think. In fact, you
Yes.
cannot feel until you have thought. It is the
Mm,
quality of that thought that is called into question. The quality
mm,
of the thoughts. That's what is called into question. So it's not really. We all think. So the average person who reacts at thoughts. This guy slaps
mm.
me. This person is insulting me. How can he slap a whole offer and he goes back and gets into a fight? He has thoughts. And
Yeah.
slap someone else receives a slap in public and thinks, yeah, okay, yeah, the dude slapped me, but what do I want? So himself is thinking, but he's
Yeah.
doing a much more elaborated thinking. He's running, hey, he's going all the way to the future. He's doing real moment thinking. He's asking himself, what do I want to take out from here right now? The other person
Mm,
did not really go through a long, elaborated method of thinking. The person used the rule of thumb. The last time somebody
mm,
slapped me, or the last time I saw somebody slap somebody, should it was insult. And so that's what's happening now. It's insult that's happening now. I'm going to
mm.
give this person back. So there's a, it's not really the time frame, it's the quality of thoughts that tells them apart. So that's why I was saying yes, you were correct that you were thinking,
Not
but it doesn't
entirely
mean that the other
correct.
person, no, but it doesn't mean that the other person who reacted did not think. It's just that the
Does not
quality of
think, yeah.
thoughts was the quality of thought was different.
Okay, so funny enough, I wanted to ask you that I mean, going by how you have described the process, you first go into the future, think of the consequence, and then you come back. And I was saying in split second where you need to act on something like really quickly. Do you have that luxury of time to like think and but then I think you've mentioned it when you said it's not in the time, it's in the quality of thoughts. Yeah.
I mean, the truth is, all of us, we all have that choice. I
Okay.
think it was, and I'm not even going to, I'm not even going to sit it on what wise people have said. Really and truly, that
Yeah.
if the stakes are very high, if the stakes are very high, you think more. It is when anything can go that you just, if the stakes are really high, for example, your boss, well, if you have a boss, I know you are a boss, right? But if you have a
Mm.
boss, your boss walks into the office in the morning and say you are crazy, you will think before you respond, right?
Yes.
Because you know the stakes are high. There's a response I will give my boss. I've lost my job, even if he was being disrespectful and was being a toxic boss. There is a response I would give him that I've lost that job. So I ask myself, when I woke up this morning, was I really thinking about losing my job? And
Mm.
if I lose my job now and I have a wife and I have kids, how do I take care of them until, do I even have any contingency money left? So all of that thought, I would
Mm.
think it before I respond
Mm.
because the stakes are
Yeah,
high.
of
But
course.
if it's the cleaner that enters my office and say, "Oh God, you're crazy," there's no thought. The stakes are not high.
Yeah.
I'll give it back to you straight up. Like, did you take something before you came into this office? Are you in your right
Yeah.
senses? You know what I'm saying?
Mm.
So
Yes.
we always have, all of us, we always have that choice. The challenge is, do we use it? Between when someone acts anyway to you and when you react, there is a gap. Inside that
Okay.
gap, there is a pause. You will use that pause whether or not you think the stakes are high enough. What the emotional intelligent person does, so the average person will use that pause, that small space between action and reaction, to actually
Yeah.
decide whether the stakes are high enough for me to act. The emotional intelligent person always uses the pause. That's the difference between the emotional intelligent person and the
Okay.
average person. Always uses that 1 second, that 2 seconds. It's not a long time. It's 1 second is a microsecond, but in that time you're asking yourself, what do I want?
Mm.
And then the moment it settles, you make a decision, you act. And then everybody sees the action and say, that man is a very wise man, or that woman is a very wise woman. No, the person had run her thoughts, his or her thought process all the way to the end. And that's what the average person doesn't do. And
Yeah.
so,
Okay, so I want to ask a very, very realistic question. Um Someone could be emotionally intelligent, but sometimes could be in a
okay,
situation where you are under
okay.
serious pressure that it feels like you don't even have a second to respond. How
Mhm.
would you tell somebody who finds themselves in a situation where they don't feel like they have a second to think? Like, what are the easy ways you can share with them to say, okay, yes, I've talked about thoughts, but these are things you can do if you're in a position of pressure to still be emotionally intelligent.
See, okay, so maybe I need to work this. The context is particularly important when we're dealing
Mm,
with this. So I have said it and I will say it again. You always have that pause. You just don't use it. But secondly, if you feel like the pressure is high, like the pressure is very, very high, right? Before you
Yeah.
act, check out. You can either check out in your head or check out physically.
Okay.
And again, that's using a different kind of pause. That's actually exiting. People will say it's tough. If my boss is shouting at me right now, I will go still. In all that while, I will be thinking. If someone is prevailing on me to do something, for example, let's say the example that came to my mind. I don't want to be tempted with this, so I'm not going to say it. Let's say I'm going out with a
Okay.
friend, and
Mm.
the friend, very good friend, very tight friend, a younger friend, and somebody hits the friend, and the friend is looking at me and expecting that I will step in and do something.
Mm.
I will think.
Okay.
I actually doesn't matter whether by the time we are done, my friend will think that I'm not loyal. I'm not.
Yeah.
I I will really think, and I'll ask myself, okay, so what's the possible thing we can do here? Um, can I separate the fight and tell my friend to chill and try and
Mm.
be a pacifier like a good guy?
Yes.
Because if I decide to go into this fight with my friend, chances are that the other guy has his own people.
Yeah, exactly.
I can't see that possible outcome. I will
Mm.
leave this place. I remember when I was younger, a friend went into a fight with a conductor. I was much younger then, and we're coming from one place together. I went and entered the fight with the guy because he was my guy. When they were going to throw the punch, it was not my guy that the punch touched. It was my
It
lip.
was
My
you.
lip. If you see the size of my lip after that punch, I didn't get it. It's the kind of punch that hits you and you stop. Everything about you research. You now ask yourself, why was I even inside this in the first place? This has got nothing to do
Yeah.
with me. So if it was happening now, I would still think.
Yes, of course.
I'm not going to. So oftentimes, see, let me say this so we get it. Emotions don't happen outside you; they happen inside you.
Mm.
The people you think are putting pressure on you externally, right? Maybe actually putting that pressure on you, telling you struggling stuff, but all your emotions are locked inside you. They happen within you. What that
Yeah.
means is that you always actually have the possibility of control. Whether you will use it is subject to a lot of things. But the truth is, it is happening inside you. Can you? So for those who
Yeah.
have people, for example, I work with people who've got anger management issues. We'll tell them to try breathing exercise. We'll tell them to do counting. What we are actually telling them to do is exit. You cannot
Mm.
exit physically. Exit in your mind. Exit in your head. Right? These
Mm.
things,
Yeah.
these things are not happening outside of you, they're happening inside of you. Check out, shut it down.
Mm.
Start to breathe and focus on your breathing. Start to count and focus on the counting. Or don't think. Just go blank. And what
Mm.
I've realized is that's even the if you can actually do that, that is the easiest.
Yeah.
It's almost like it's a switch off button. You just go off. What you will notice is that you'll be hearing distant noise, but you are
Mm.
resting inside your body. You are outside it 100%. You could come out
Mm.
from that. You should come out from that state and just pick your bag and go home.
Mm.
What has happened is that you had dropped out of the confrontation or the conflict instantly. You have disengaged, disconnected. The question is, was that what you wanted? So if you feel pressured and you know, "Ah, look, I'm damned if I do, I'm damned if I don't.
I
Because
don't. Yeah.
if I do, there is no quality of thought going into the decision. If I don't, it's going to be tantamount to me shirking my responsibility. I shut down. I give everybody the chance to understand that this decision is solely mine to make.
Mm.
And I'm not going to make it because you're putting pressure on me. I'm reading a book recently. just gone like halfway through it. He was giving the account of the Second World War when the US dropped the atomic bomb on those two Japanese cities.
Yeah.
And the interviewer was interviewing the guy who actually dropped the first bomb, the one in Hiroshima. When they went back after the mission, the entire team that planned the mission and the guy who actually went on the execution went back to see the United States president. He thanked everybody else for what he did, promoted everybody else for what he did. But when he looked at the guy who actually flew that atomic bomb, he looked at him. He was thinking of what to tell him, what to say to him. He now asked him, see, if people outside there ask you why you did it, what would you say? His
Mm.
response was, Mr. President, I did what I was told.
Mm.
In that statement, although in the statement he sounded, because he was unrepentant all the way to the end, he sounded like, yeah, I'm confident, I'm sure. But with that
Yeah.
statement, he had revealed to me that, look, I'm removing myself from the consequence of my action. I can hinge that action, or I can hinge the consequence of my action on the
And the
person who
person.
told me to do it.
Yeah.
What I'm trying to tell you right now is that I am guilty, but I don't want to feel the guilt. And I'm not wanting to feel the guilt because I can put the blame on somebody else. And that's what happens with most people sometimes. So if you ask him, he said, I was pressured to do it. That's why I did it. But the
Mm.
truth was, he knew that because the journalist asked him, if you knew how much, because that was the first time we were going to use a bomb of that capacity. Nobody knew what it was to have 20 kilotons of TNT blew up in
Mm.
that atomic bomb. I think as they talked about it, they said all of the bombs used in the Second World War
Mm.
before then, that atomic bomb was of bigger capacity than a collection of all the bombs used
Wow.
in the entire theater of war across Europe and Northern Africa
Mm.
before then.
Mm.
So if if you had known that you were going to kill instantly 150 people, and then there's the other hundreds of thousands who will die later, would you have done
Mm.
that thing? If you had the chance of acquainting yourself with consequences, would you have made that choice? Even if they were pressuring you, would you have dropped that bomb?
Mm.
If your
Mm.
mother was in Hiroshima that day and they told you your mother
Mm.
was dead, would you have dropped the bomb? So the pressure is coming from outside. It is you that determines what you will do on your inside. So if it looks like it's too much, shut it out. If you can
Mm.
ask them time to go think, ask them, give me 5 minutes, give me 2 minutes, give me 3 minutes, or give me a minute to think. But don't ever commit to an action you have not thought through. Anyways, that's my answer in this one. Because again, context will help you deal with it. But the truth is,
Yeah.
don't ever commit. Run scenarios in your mind. Ask yourself, engage yourself, arrive at a consequence that you know that, look, I can live with this. And that consequence is different for each one of us. The moment you arrive at that, then you can make a decision. Look, whatever the outcomes are here, I have at least I have made acquaintances with them, and I've assured myself
Mm.
that if you wake me up tomorrow and ask me why I did it, I have an answer, one I
All
can live
right.
with.
All right. Thank you very much. Please, I would need just 2 seconds. I need to quickly fix something on my laptop, please.
No worries, no worries.
Whew. All right. I apologize for that
Okay.
little break.
It's
I
okay.
didn't realize I had taken out my charger and the laptop is about to
Ooh.
go off.
Ah,
All
all
right.
right.
So thank you so much for that very not just insightful answer, but very elaborate answer. I believe that someone who had listened to that would understand very well the point you're trying to drive. I mean, Another question I want to ask is the common issues that you think make people struggle with emotional intelligence and how you think they can overcome it. So you're telling people have emotional intelligence, but there are potential challenges they have in building emotional intelligence. What are these challenges and how can they overcome it?
I mean, the first major challenge is patterns. See, we are creatures of habits.
Okay.
Once you started responding to
Mm,
life in a particular way, it's particularly difficult for you to change um, that way of responding if nothing has happened to you on the inside. So if you don't
mm,
have new knowledge, you don't have superior intelligence that's called you to say, you know what, you need to change your behavior,
yeah.
right? So the first culprit is our patterns, and
Mm,
really, if you're talking patterns, there is a whole science behind it. It's in
mm,
fact there is both a science and, yeah, basically there is an economics that your mind works through, right? So if I've always chosen a particular way to respond to certain things,
mm,
my mind accepts it as the easiest response. So if a similar thing happens, my mind doesn't want me to think too far.
to
It
think
just wants,
again.
yeah, just let's run what we've run before. So when you're going to develop emotional intelligence, the first thing you want to have is awareness. See, and
Mm,
awareness naturally requires that you slow down. There are a lot of things we do consciously, but our awareness is not on it.
mm,
You are conscious every time you brush your teeth, but you may not be aware that you brush your teeth the same way every morning, like every morning.
yeah.
You are conscious when you, for example, say you're going to wear a pair of trousers. You are conscious when you're putting
Mm,
one foot in and the other foot in. But you may not be aware that you favor a particular foot every time. So the day you go and change that foot for the other one, you will stumble. Some people actually literally fall
yeah.
because
Can relate.
they are not, they're not aware. They're not aware that, look, this
Mm,
thing has always been happening. Awareness requires that you slow down to understand the patterns that govern your life. Self-awareness is, it's a powerful competence when it comes to emotional intelligence. It's the first. You want to
mm,
actually, so how do I respond to women? How do I respond to men? How do I respond to children? How do I respond to my subordinates? How do I respond to my superiors? How do I respond to specific kind of, if I'm consistently having conflicts with a particular kind of or set of people in my life, I need to slow
mm,
down and ask myself, okay, what is it about my response to these particular people? What do I
mm,
want to learn here? What is it that triggers me about these particular people? You may be so shocked that the trigger, for example, you respond to fat women in a particular way, and I don't mean that disrespectively. That trigger, right, may be anchored in one fat woman that beat you when you were 5 years old. Wait, and from that day, you have hated every fat woman, even the nice fat woman. The moment you see her, you
yeah.
superimpose the face of that particular, and you may not know. Just so it's until you not say, wait. So all the people I have a conflict with are women, and they're fat. Why? No, no. So this is
Mm,
not a coincidence. There's a pattern here. What is it about me and fat women? What is it about me and tall men? What is it about me
mm,
and uneducated people? What is it about me and impatience with certain kind of people or certain kind of places or certain kind of things? The first, if you're gonna, if you're, it's almost like you're trying to first learn about yourself.
mm,
And most of us go through life thinking, I think the biggest assumption that human beings have is an assumption that they know themselves.
mm,
We often assume that, I know myself, I know, I know. It's one of the craziest assumptions we have. Because
mm,
if you ask them, okay, how is it? So I know you know this behavior, but how is it that you display it repeatedly? They will tell you, I don't know. So that's the same person who told you, I know
I know
myself.
myself.
Will now tell you, I don't. So why are you conflicting yourself? Because if
Yeah.
you know yourself, you should know why.
Mm.
But you just know that you do certain things, you don't know why. Awareness is almost like turning the satellite on something that is hidden. You just put a
Mm.
satellite on it and say, okay, look, you are on the spotlight now. I want to see the mechanics or the mechanism that underscores your operation. And that's what you're doing. You're slowing down to
Mm.
first understand how you respond and then go one level deeper. Why do I respond this way?
Mm.
Because then you're first engaging, having a deep level of self knowledge. What you will notice is that if you really know, once awareness is brought to bear on a particular behavior, the next time you want
Mm.
to behave, you check yourself. It's almost time.
Mm.
It's almost it's like a deer caught in the headlights. You know that I have a tendency to behave like this. The next time you want to behave, you take a step back. You check yourself because
Yeah.
awareness is you've already gotten awareness about that thing. So if you want to first develop emotional intelligence, you first begin to you need first to understand. I mean, have a sense of awareness about who you are, what you do, why you do what you do, what your patterns are, and especially how and why those patterns sat, so that you will now see the things that govern your life and you'll now ask yourself,
Mm.
okay, is this how I want my life to consistently be? Some
Yeah.
people, they have values and beliefs that govern their life, and the thing about these two things, values and beliefs, because they are often borrowed. You are not
Yeah.
born with any one of them. You are not born with any value or any belief.
Mm.
You get it? Some of us are Christians because our parents are Christians. Some are Muslims because our parents are Muslims. We have a cultural belief because we're from a particular part of the nation or particular part of the world.
Mm.
So we weren't born with them. We adopted them. All your values are picked from people. You want to ask yourself, okay, if I know that, okay, this behavior, this response is governed by these values or this belief, where did I get them from? If I now can know where I got them from and now ask myself, all the people that I borrowed these values and these beliefs from, where did they end up?
Mm.
How did their life end? Then you now ask yourself, okay, is that the direction I want to go? If it's not, then I know now I need to make some serious course corrections right now.
Mm.
Without self awareness, there can be no conscious change in behavior. And that's the biggest challenge because if you're not, it is difficult to change behavior in the first place. But if you don't
Yeah.
put consciousness to it, it's not ever going to work. Without self
Mm.
awareness, there can be no conscious change in behavior. And it is how you adapt your behavior to the context, to the situation, to the place, and the time that people will
Mm.
term you as either wise or matured.
Mm.
That is so it's there is a behavioral function, a behavioral dimension, right, to this
Mm.
thing
Yeah.
we're talking of. You're calling emotional intelligence. It is the behavior people see and they say, okay, this person is wise, this person is smart. But before I come to that point where my behavior aligns with what is true, what is the true north in this particular situation, it should have gone
Yeah.
through a process. And that process begins with awareness. And there is no other way to tell you this. Awareness always calls you to slow down.
Mm.
Im- Impatience is the biggest um, uh, what's the anti now? The biggest thing that stops people from developing emotional intelligence. Impatience is the
Yeah.
biggest culprit when it comes to that. Impatient people are always rash and they are often thoughtless. They would always finish their action before they tell themselves, oh, I'm sorry. They are the ones who
Yeah.
will tell you that, look, I will say what's on my mind and I will apologize later. Yeah,
Mm.
impatience is the biggest tool. But if you're going to really develop it, awareness will ask you to slow down. And that's where your journey to
Yeah.
emotional intelligence starts, from slowing down and taking everything in. Yeah.
Thank you so much. So, I want to just point for those who are watching. I mean, from this last answer you have given, if you've not gotten anything, understand that the very beginning of you building emotional intelligence is you being self aware. And that's going to lead me to my last question. I'm trying really hard to not, make this session a really long one, but I also want people to be able to take out something that they can act on almost
Mm.
immediately. So, somebody who is watching this is saying, okay, I really want to have emotional intelligence. And now I hear that self awareness is my first step. But how do I even go about this journey of self awareness? So, if you want to tell someone who is in that situation, how would you say is the how would you say these are the things that you should do if you want to learn self awareness?
All right. So there are. I will talk about three ways, but maybe two. Right.
Okay.
The first way is a social spectrum, a social comparison thing. We don't see ourselves as we are. I remember telling a young child in church that you don't know what you look like. And he
Mm.
said, well, no, I know what I look like. I said, no, you don't know what you look like.
What you look like.
Right now, Magdalene, do you know what you look like? Right now, that do you know what your face looks like? Not because you're on
Uh,
the camera.
I wouldn't say entirely, maybe to some extent.
You see, when I ask you that, the extent to which you know what your face looks like, right,
Mm.
is
Mm.
based off what you have seen either in the mirror or pictures. So, is that your real face, and Emanuela?
Ah,
There are over 240 plus muscles in your face alone. What
yeah,
that means is that your face will always take shape based on how those muscles arrange. That's why I feel that we
yeah.
take what 50 selfies. I know they like to take selfie. Prum, 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 prum. Then when you are finished, you now settle down and start
I
deleting.
delete.
Okay, this one doesn't look like me. That one doesn't look like me.
I
This one doesn't.
know,
The same person 50 times.
right?
And you are saying,
Yeah,
no, I like this one I'm fine. That's the real dilemma.
yeah.
Because really and truly, you do not know what you look like. It is people
Mm.
who see you that knows what you look like. Oftentimes, the
Okay.
first place to get a sense of awareness is from the people who are really in your life. The people who can tell you the biggest truth. I mean, just ask for that feedback. Be humble enough. So that's what I was going to say. That was supposed to be the second thing is humility. Be humble enough to ask, how do I come across? I mean, I've noticed that this and this, when people are always saying this thing about me, but I want the honest truth. I want to take this feedback from three, four, five different people who I know are really in my world because I cannot see myself. That's why I humbly ask for feedback from them. And then I correlate. Of course, people would see you based on sometimes a perception of you, but
The perception.
mm, but take all of that information and then correlate and check which one is actually that you know in your heart of hearts.
Mm.
This one, there's no problem. If I'm angry with you, if even if I don't want to say it, my eye will show it, my mouth will show it. It leaks
Mm.
somewhere. I will curse you
Mm.
inside my mind, and then my eye will not let you know that I have cursed you. There's no, we just know
Yeah,
that it's important. Anyways, so
yeah.
you go through all of that feedback, and then you find out what's the truth about you. What is consistent? What is it that
Mm.
six people are saying consistently about you? That's closer to truth, right? That gives you a
Mm.
direct feedback. You know, even Jesus would ask, who do men say that I am?
What do you mean say I am? Yeah.
And then when you give them, you now say, who do you say I am? You're the guys who's been with me all this while. You went everywhere with
Mm.
me for this. Who do you say that I am? So
Mm.
that's feedback is asking for. Not, well, I just brought that in so you understand that it's particularly important, especially for people who have a distorted sense of self. People
Mm.
who were raised narcissists, people who were raised feeding on certain kind of information that gave them a bloated sense of self-ego, an overstated sense of importance. People who have certain kind of outlook, who don't really see themselves. It might make sense for you to know what I can't tell myself the truth about this matter because I'm going to always be biased. I'm going to bias myself in my thought process. Let me ask the people who are
Mm.
closest to me and ask them to give me honest feedback. That's one way with humility. The second and last way I would share is can you try and keep a journal, which is the hardest thing for most people to do? Can you just try and track your own responses? If you might not do it, we'll often say do it in time, like as
Mm.
you're happening, but If you can't because of the reality of Lagos and life and all, you want to make at the end of the day just put down all your responses. And then over 1 week, look at the recurrent responses. You will see a pattern play out. If you keep a log, a journal of your whole day, everything, people you meet, and the key conversations you had, and the responses, all of that, if you can just keep a journal for 7 to 21 days, you will see a pattern play out. Oh, first you will see your own routines. The second thing, you will
Yeah.
see your your general response to people. And
Mm.
then you can now see a truth that actually this one is nobody telling me. I'm keeping a record, and that
Mm.
record is playing out. You can even use
Mm.
AI to help you. You can use Ota
Yeah.
AI, but that one means that you have to keep recording, right? But the beauty is that you can record your whole day and then give you a snapshot, summaries.
Mm.
So you use those summaries for 7 days, use those summaries for 21 days, and then you see a
Mm.
pattern play out. You see some things about yourself that you could not consciously have taken in because of the speed,
Yeah.
the pace of your everyday life. And then when you see all of that, you can now ask yourself, I have information, I have data about myself now. What do I want to do about it?
Mm. Amazing. Thank you so much, Mr. Chooks, for this very insightful session. I mean, I'm not disappointed because I know you will
Thank you.
do what you've just done today. Thank you so
Thank you.
much. I'm glad
Thank you
that
for having me.
even me that is asking this question, I've learned so much. I'm already
Mm.
seeing actionable steps that I can also implement in my life. That I'm hosting a session on emotional intelligence does not mean I'm emotionally intelligent.
All of us are a work in progress.
I know, right? Doesn't mean I'm there yet. I mean, we will keep. There's need for us to keep getting better. Sometimes the human part of you would play out. You know, I like to say that sometimes you meet some situations in life and everything you know just fly, your human self just comes out. But then the key takeaway for this is you being conscious, you acting conscious. Even self-awareness is coming from the place of consciousness as well. You want to be consciously self-aware, you want to act with that consciousness. You want to be conscious of your action, of the things you do, of the results you want to get. You want to ask yourself questions. All of those things are you being conscious. And of course, my new slang, you being intentional. You cannot be emotional intelligent if you're not intentional about it. And I like to say that emotional intelligence would, you would need it to play out in literally every area of your life, which means that it's a life skill. Let me put it that way. It's an essential
Yeah.
skill for everybody to have. So if you're going to win in 2025, which is my focus for this very series, it's very, very important that you have emotional intelligence. And of course, if you think your own issue is really, really serious and you need somebody to really help you, that's why we have Coach Chukwuemeka here. I'm going to put his social media handle in the description much later so that you can follow him up if you need him to do more for you than what we have had in this session. Mr. Chukwuemeka, how do I say thank you?
Just
I'm
say
truly
thank you.
grateful. Thank you so much. I mean, it's funny
No,
how we have kept the relationship for so many years. And I think it's just
absolutely.
coming from the place of value. If there's no value that this relationship brings, we would not keep it. I'm leveraging on relationship to have this session. I should pay you for a coaching session. I mean, if I want to have you, I should pay for speaking engagement if I want to have you. But here I am having you for free. I don't mean it that way.
All right.
I'm just trying to say that I appreciate this thing that you're doing. My focus is to help people as much as possible, and I'm glad that I have people who share similar interests who are also willing to join me in this journey of helping people. So once again, thank you so much. If you haven't subscribed to this channel, please do. The focus of this channel is to help you grow as a person all round. All round. So please subscribe if you haven't. Like this video if you really enjoyed it. No, like this video because you enjoyed it. You don't have a choice. You enjoyed it. So like this video and of course share with people around you because they would need to hear this as well. So thank you once again. Thank you everyone for sticking around. I see a very consistent person on this live session. Divine Tokoye, thank you so much. It's a pleasure to have you join this
Ah,
call and for sticking around to the very end. And even for your engagement. I also see Nora Tokoye. Thank you so much. I really appreciate your time here on the call. Thank you everyone. And of course, do enjoy your week. Bye everyone. Bye.